Hey you guys, Charles Rudibaugh. I'm going to show you real quick how to get rich part-time. You got to do this part-time, right? You can't get here, how do you, oh, I'm going to go start my full-time get rich. You know what I mean? Like you've been full-time your whole life and you've never been able to get rich. Like here's what you do is you start part-time. You got to do it part-time. And what you got to do is fill your schedule. You see what happens if you try to go full-time too early, then what happens is you got all this time. You like wake up at 6 a.m., right? I mean, what happens usually is you go full-time too early and you don't end up waking up early when you can be productive. You end up sleeping in because you go out late. You're like, oh, I got all this time, so you go out late and you don't sleep, you don't wake up early. But what you want to do is, so let's just say you got a full day here if you're committed to be productive and a full working day. You've got like one appointment, right? You've got one appointment. And it's like, okay, what do I do the whole rest of my day? And anything now can take your time. And what happens is things do, and things will take your time. And so we get started and we do a business like this so that we can create this time freedom in our lives and have control of our schedule. So people oftentimes go full time, but all they have is like one appointment booked for the next day. Right? So then these are the same people that are wondering themselves, what happens if I run out of people? Right? Well, a professional always can fill their schedule. And so what's the most important thing you do when you're brand new getting started in a network marketing company is fill your schedule, right? What's the most important tool you can have when you're brand new in a network marketing company? A planner, right? A schedule is a planner. And so what are you going to do? Well, all you have is one appointment, and this is a one-on-one appointment at 11:30 a.m., right? Well, maybe on Zoom, right? Or on a conference call, maybe, or online, right? On a webinar. Or maybe it is in person, you know what I mean? But let's say, okay, what you do is you fill your schedule, right? Maybe you got a three-way, right? Maybe a three-way call. And then get, right here, right at, 10 a.m. is like follow-up time, right? Like nothing gets in the way of follow-up time, right? And but you're filling your schedule. And you can schedule another three-way right here. You can schedule you got another three-way call scheduled right here. You're making inviting calls. You're just going to make an hour of calls, an hour of dials, right? You don't try to always making calls. You sit down and make an hour of dials, right, on your list, right? You're just filling your schedule. Maybe you get an appointment because of all the calls that you made, right? And you go run to Starbucks, right? And you have the appointment, right? And then what are you going to do? Maybe with all of these calls, maybe you're able to schedule a home meeting, right? Maybe you're able to schedule a home meeting. Right? Maybe you got another meeting scheduled. And so before 10 a.m. But you have to fill the schedule. You're not just going to have appointments. Does that make sense? You're not just going to have a lot of stuff to do. You're not just going to have a lot of people that are out there exploding and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got all these appointments and people to meet up with. What you have to do is fill your schedule. And that's all that matters. And what you can do is you can look at the planner or the schedule of any network marketer and see how successful they're being and know their income within 5% just by looking at their plan, just by looking at their schedule. And so what you do is you got all this time, right? And so because the problem is if you go full-time too early, you got all this extra time and someone may not know how to fill their schedule, what kind of follow-up tools to use, like the sign-in sheets from whole meetings to use for follow-up. And plus always working on your own list, making your own calls, and how to really fill the schedule using three-way calls, and there's a lot of being on the phone with a lot of people with the upline, and so they got all this time, and they're like full-time network marketers, but really they're sometime-ish at best, you know what I mean? They got one appointment. You're not a full-time network marketer, one appointment per day. You know what I mean? You can be on vacation network marketer. You can have used to have been full-time network marketer. Now you're on collecting checks network marketer mode. But if you're full-time and you're working the business, you're going to never run out of appointments because you can bam fam. And that's one of the biggest things you can learn is bam fam, right? And that's how you can always fill your schedule and keep your schedule filled because maybe the night before you went and did a meeting, a presentation, and the next day you only got 11:30 appointment, but maybe this is a one-on-one that was scheduled because of the last meeting at the person that you met at that whole meeting. You booked another meeting from the meeting. You booked a meeting from a meeting, right? And so you got at least that one appointment scheduled, but you need to fill your schedule. So you're probably going to be, with this follow-up, you just have to fill your schedule. You just can't just kind of wander around and be like, oh, I got some extra time, I'll go to the mall, shop around, go to the movie theater. You're you got all these things you can do and you're like living the lifestyle of a full-time network marketer, but what you really need to be doing is filling your schedule with back-to-back, where you just are in high contact, high communication, and BAM-FAM helps you keep the calendar filled, and having a dedicated hour to following up with people and the people that are in the pipeline helps you keep your calendar filled, but BAM-FAM certainly, and then your sign-in sheets from your home meetings has helped you keep your calendar filled, BAM-FAM people, but you got to just fill your calendar, fill your schedule. When I got started in Kyani, my first thought was, okay, the first thing I do, I'm ready what I need to do. I need to fill my schedule. Right? So that's all it is. We have to fill our schedule, but if you can be part-time, your schedule's already filled with your job, with taking care of the kids, right? With going to work, with nighttime, with different clubs, activities, church groups, Sundays. You've got different things already filled. Your calendar's filled already because you're a full-time job and all this, multiple businesses, and so you just find these time cracks and time blocks. So if all these things were filled up with your other responsibilities, you just fit this one-on-one, and that's how you do it part-time. And you build it up, because the problem is most people go full-time to try to go get rich. They can't fill their schedule because they don't have these skills and they don't know what to do with all this extra time, and they don't have the amount of activity enough to create the momentum to really build a big income. But if you build it up with part-time, and you have a little slot in your schedule over here, and a sliver of your time over here, and you fit it in over here, and what you do with your part-time is you fit one more in. You just fit one more in. You're just always trying to fit one more in, one more call, one more text. And what happens is part-time, you end up having your schedule so filled between all your work and school and church activities and now this business on top of it. And then guess what? You create this extra income part-time. So anyone says, well, how do you do it? I don't know. I do it. I'm so busy. You say, well, let me show you how I did it part-time. I started part-time. I was coaching rowing. Actually, when I started the last company and this company, I was actually coaching rowing. And so, you just fit another one in. And so what we can do is do it part-time until your calendar opens up, because you make this extra income that you can buy back your time. For some people, that's a big income they got to make. But for some people, it's not that much money, and they can really buy back their time. And literally, with their extra income from this, buy that time back from that company, from that job, from that business, and replace themselves or hire someone else or whatever, outsource it. And then now they have all this time now to fill this schedule with business activities. And what you want to do is be tracking and building more IBAs. And you're just trying to go for more income bringing activities, filling your calendar. That's it. Just fill your schedule. That's it. Just fill your schedule. But that's the magic of part-time. The magic of part-time is you can just be part-time and just have one appointment, and you're moving your business forward. Something every day. So when someone says, how did you do it? You say, well, I just have part-time. Because if you say, oh, I was full-time, it was, oh, yeah, I was full-time. They're thinking, okay, what would I do if I was full-time? I don't even have 5 people to call. How do I go? Well, exactly. You're just part-time, and you make a little bit every day until your this calendar gets filled up. It's kind of like dating, right? In dating, if you want to really break it off clean, right, with that relationship before you start the new one, right? If you want to be healthy, you want to be mature, right? You want to do this the right way. And so, but in this business, what you want to do before you go part-time, before you go full-time in the business, before you quit your job, you don't want to quit your job and then start all over and really break it clean and then start the business and you're full-time now and have nothing on your calendar, right? What you want to do in this business is it's like cheating. You want to just do part-time while you have your full-time job, and you're just filling your schedule with other appointments with your business. In between there, you're slipping it in there until it starts making enough money that you can just transition out into your Kyani business, and you just let your employer know that they're no longer needed. You let your employer know they're no longer needed. So that's all it is. But you BAM-FAM, use the whole meeting, sign-in sheets, fit one more in, always trying to just make things convenient. And the more you can do this online and over the phone, signing people up and doing presentations with Zoom and through webinars and over the phone and conference calls, the more that you can just have this incredible lifestyle, and you just can do this kind of stuff just so easy around your schedule, anytime part-time. Then the full-time becomes, okay, now you're full-time. Well, you got a few conference calls, you got a couple three-way calls, go meet up with someone at Starbucks, you know what I mean? Grab a cup of coffee, right? And they're already interested, they're already ready to sign up, you know what I mean? Anyways, and you got a meeting at 9 with 45 people scheduled to show up because everyone's been promoting it and using the mobile app, and it's just fun. It's just a much more fun way to build the business. And I've never experienced anything like it except for in Team Fusion, and so it didn't work this way in my last company. It looked like it did, but didn't actually end up working. Here it does. It's amazing.